Welcome to the Bree Pod. I'm here with Kira Hessian, licensed mental health counselor. Hi, Kira.
Hi, Bree.
I'm so excited to have you on here today, and I just wanted you to share a bit of a background about you.
Yeah, so thanks so much for having me on. I'm really excited to get this opportunity. So, I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I recently got my license. I've been working in the field since even prior. So, starting from my bachelor's degree, I've been working in mental health for at least over 5 years. Um, and currently, I work with the substance use population and mental health since they really go together. Um, I bring my dog to work with me as a therapy dog. He gets to join along once weekly. And the patients really enjoy that. And it's always nice to get out and get some fresh air and a walk during the busy day. I also have been growing in my own spiritual journey and learning a lot about cards and crystals and different holistic ways of healing. So I hope as my journey expands, I can offer that to any of the patients that I work with as well to be a more holistic, well rounded therapist. And other than that, that's pretty much what I've been doing recently.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. And I love the fact that you bring your dog to work. That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people really enjoy that aspect. So he's a black lab, so he's a big presence and he's always has his tail up and so excited to be at work.
Oh, what's his name?
His name is Duke.
Oh, I love that. Um, I feel like if I was coming to a session, I'd be like, "Oh, Duke, hello."
Yeah, most mornings when I walk in, it is a good morning to Duke first prior to me, but that's okay.
Uh, I love that so much. So recently you and I were talking, and we were talking about how there's a really huge impact on mental health right now, especially with the pandemic. And I just wanted you to share on that.
Yeah, so the pandemic has brought about a lot for many people across all age ranges, from children to young adults, adults, seniors. Really, everybody has been impacted in some way. And, specifically, individuals that have mental health diagnosis or substance use disorder have been really impacted by the pandemic for a variety of reasons. And in addition, there's been a lot of data reporting people that didn't have a previous diagnosis now have a lot of symptoms of different disorders due to the pandemic and the fear and the instability and the change of schedule, the change of lifestyle. So I have been working in the field throughout the pandemic. And like I mentioned prior, I work in the substance use field. And typically, a person, can sustain recovery. There's usually about a 40 to 60% rate that someone may relapse, during their journey and recovery. And now it's increased during the pandemic to about 90% of individuals have relapsed during the pandemic. And like I said, there's been a variety of reasons for that, to include the pandemic specifically has really encouraged isolation due to the spread. So isolation is something that's not helpful to someone that has either disorder. Um, a lot of change in routine, which really impacts substance use, but also mental health. Getting up at the same time, going to bed, going to work for so many hours. That's changed a lot for many people. Um, not really reaching out to support, a lot of fear around exposure and what that might look like for each person. So, not getting out, um, that was a big thing too. Even just going to the grocery store. A lot of all the support meetings were canceled and became online. And for some individuals, economics were significantly impacted. So they might not have access to internet or a phone or anything like that. Um, Also, with the meetings and sessions, if someone was attending therapy, going online is a different factor to make sure someone is in a safe space and that it's a confidential space talking about their personal, stories. So that's made a lot of concern for so many people. Um, for our young adults in mental health and specifically anxiety and depression disorders, there's been a 56% increase in someone experiencing symptoms from the age of 18 to 24 during the
Wow.
pandemic. Yeah. um, and then 42% of essential staff workers had also experienced many of these symptoms, the fear, fatigue, worry. So, a lot going on during this time.
Yeah. I know recently I had been reading that even suicide has gone up because of it. And it's so new for all of us because I think it's not, I mean, for me anyway, I've never seen anything like this before. Um, and everybody I feel like had to like change everything. Like in people that are used to routine and need routine, like when we were talking back with Autism Week, they were talking about how the routine for their children um, changed, and how do you explain that uh, with everybody? So I guess one of my questions is like, what do you recommend for people that are suffering?
Yeah. So the nice thing is as most of us know around, a lot of restrictions are becoming lifted compared to when the pandemic first started, which means that you can get out a little bit more. In addition, some of the mask wearing has, reduced, and we still have some social distancing, but a lot less restrictions than when we started. And I would say some of the tips and things that I've been encouraging for individuals that I see in therapy are one of the big things is still taking break from social media and the news, because it's just all over and it really kind of brings about some negativity around the impacts. And after a while, that takes a toll on your thought process. So you don't have to give up listening to the news or being on social media, but just reducing your time, being mindful to step away from it when you can. Um, Taking care of your body, that's a really big part that probably a lot of us have neglected, just for being concerned about being outside, being around other people. It's brought a lot of fear around being in big gatherings. So, taking care of your body is just being able to eat healthy, exercise if that's something you like to do. Um, Anything that you can get out and move around a little bit. It really changes the dopamine and the serotonin in our brain, which makes us really feel good. And that's usually lacking in a lot of disorders. So it's really nice to be able to get outside and get some fresh air or do a video inside for your body. Relaxation techniques are something that's really utilized in therapy. And you can find a lot of those even on your own. On YouTube, they have a lot of great resources. But breathing techniques, yoga, meditations, those are really helpful to just be present and have a break. Um, Connecting with other people is really big. That's a big part of recovery for mental health and substance use, is just being able to connect and not feel alone. And a lot of people have felt alone during the pandemic. Connecting with your spirituality, if that's something you like, whatever that means for you, if it's a religion specific or crystals or cards or any sort of practice that you enjoy. It's really nice to practice our spirituality. It gives a sense of hope, for our future. And then sometimes, now we're going to have to create some new daily routines than what we had before. Before pandemic, during pandemic, and now looks a little different for each of us. So really having a healthy routine of, waking and sleep times. We think usually that's only really important for children, but it's very important for adults too. So the kids, getting to be able to go back to school a little bit is really helpful for routines. And it is for people that are heading back to work and maybe not at home all day anymore. And obviously, as a therapist, I always kind of encourage individuals to attend therapy if they're open to it. It's volunteer basis. It's not something you're forced to do, but something that can be really helpful to help you grow in a variety of ways. But also to be a support for someone to listen to you through your experience through the pandemic, because each of us have had something so different coming out of this experience. Being a therapist in the role, being on a podcast, being a patient in treatment, the kids at home, the seniors that we have living in residences, everybody has come out of this in a very different way. And it's just important to know that you're heard and that you can have support at any time you need it. And there's a lot of great resources for that, which still include the video chats, which some people like, some people don't. But it's still an offering if you're concerned about being out of your home. And then, we're shifting back to some more in person therapy for people because that has a lot of value too. So there has been some expanding in our field, to be able to do video chat. That's something that hasn't really been done prior to the pandemic. So we can see some of the positives, but there's also been a lot of impact too.
And I appreciate you sharing those recommendations because I think they're super important. And I wanted to quickly touch base like when it comes to asking for help or going to therapy, there's really not necessarily an age like you have to be this age to go, right? Like you can go at least a age you are aware of what it is.
Yeah, there's no real age requirement. One of the things is in the schools, there's a lot of school counselors available for kids right within the school system. But in addition, a lot of the schools have resources to community clinics in anybody's area to go and see a licensed professional if that's something that feels necessary. Um, and then for adults, they can sign up at any time to do therapy. Like I said, all therapy is really volunteer basis. It's for your own growth. That's what we're here to help people do, is learn coping skills and be able to grow and be in the person that they want to be, to be able to heal from previous experiences, the pandemic, anything. You can work on anything, building goals. So you don't always just have to go to therapy because you have something bad in your life either. You can go to be able to talk about how things are going good or how you would like to make your life better.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the questions I have for you too is like for someone that's afraid And maybe they're kind of teetering, like they do want therapy, but they don't. Like, what advice would you give someone that is afraid to reach out, or even someone to, I guess, two-part question, that is struggling with their substance abuse and they're embarrassed to come out and say, hey, this happened?
Yeah. So a lot of, like you made that point, in substance use, there's a lot of shame and guilt, right? And there's been a lot of individuals I've worked with that have had some sustained recovery time and have relapsed during the pandemic due to the limited resources available. And I would say to all those people suffering, you're not alone, and there's a lot of help available to you. Either you can make the call yourself, which is really hard, but will be really rewarding. You could go to any community clinic. If you're at a hospital, you can let them know that you want some help. There's also a variety of helplines for substance use and mental health that you can utilize. So there's a lot of ways to get into treatment without maybe you having to call, but you will probably have to say something to get that support that you need. And that can be very difficult, but it will be very rewarding, as I've seen a lot of people progress through their treatment and be very happy that they reached out and they made that change in their life.
Thank you for sharing that. And I really love that you say, you're not alone, and just so like open and welcoming, because I think a lot of times, I know for myself, for asking for help, it took me a long time to actually ask, and I always thought that it would make me weak,
Hmm.
but I realized that it's actually strength to
Yeah.
ask for help.
Strength is really the key, and that's what gets people through, and that's what's getting people through the pandemic, is all the strength that we have as individuals and as a community.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, because it's definitely tested us in many ways. I'll say
yeah,
that.
in a variety, mentally, emotionally, physically. And also to add on, if you're really scared for asking for help, there's text lines as well now, and resources like the online video through like BetterHelp. That's been a really big platform for therapy, and there's licensed therapists available on their platforms, and they can talk to you on the phone. You can message them, you can video chat. So there's a lot more opportunity with our social media and with uh, cell phones now and all of those things. It's really helped expand services to all people.
Definitely. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of these. I think it was very important to talk about the pandemic and mental health. So appreciate that.
Yeah, and I appreciate you inviting me to come on, because it's so interesting to see everyone's perspective and how we're all going to heal and grow from this experience together. And I've been able to see a lot of that in my work, which is really rewarding, and definitely the biggest reason why I went into this field is to help other people and to be able to watch them grow.
Yeah, I would definitely say you are part of the essential worker crew that, and we thank you so much for your help and work and what you do, because it's a beautiful thing. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for that.
Well, thank you. And I mean, everybody, has really
Yeah,
been an essential part and not always recognized for what they do as well. Even if you did have to work from home, that was still a really important part of our society.
absolutely. That's so true. Um, yeah, I definitely send a thank you to everybody listening, that, and especially to everyone that's feeling this, because we really are all in this together, and maybe in different circumstances, different things, but at the end of the day, it was a huge, huge hit. It's wow.
Yeah, and now too a huge learning experience too, right?
Yeah.
To show our strength as individuals, as communities, to come together, helping each other out. During the times of isolation, there was a lot of talk of people bringing food over or dropping things off for individuals. So it also taught us a lot. And I do think it brought us a lot back to the basics, really appreciating what we have, our families, our friends that we might have not got to see. Um, in addition, a lot of creativity too. A lot of people started their own gardens or started their own businesses because we had that time as well. So there's a lot of growth and a lot of strength from the pandemic, and there's a lot of things that we still have to work on and support one another with, but we can come out on the top.
That's so true. Yeah. And I even know a few people that are in the business world, corporate world, where they were constantly traveling and they barely could see their families. And then it's almost like COVID kind of helped them like connect with their family. So there was definitely some positives for growth, I think, like you were saying.
Yeah, it really reminded us of, what we really live for in our life, and what was really important. It put a lot of things into perspective, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kira. And we'll definitely have to have you come back on.
Yes, for sure. All sorts of topics we can discuss on here, I think. You
Yeah.
have a wonderful podcast with a variety of resources and individuals, which is really amazing.
Thank you. I know you are a listener, so I appreciate that.
I am a listener, which is awesome.
Yeah. So thank you so much. So I'm going to shift this to the affirmation portion, as you know.
Yeah.
Um, and so for those of you that are new, this is where you pick a number that you resonate with, and that affirmation is yours. So I will be picking numbers 1 through 3. So for those of you that resonate with affirmation number 1, your affirmation is I can make a real difference. And for those of you that resonate with number 2, your affirmation is I have the power to make the right choices for me. And then for those of you that resonate with number 3, your affirmation is I have faith in my abilities. And with that, you are loved, you are worthy, you are cherished, and I am proud of you. Until next time on the Prepod. If you enjoyed today's episode with Kara, check out her new page that has all the resources and tools you need for mental health. Her page is called Grounding and Growing with Kira, and we'll have a link below for you to click. Also, if you enjoy our weekly affirmations on the Brie Pod, I now offer text messages that will be completely different than what you receive on the podcast, and data and message rates do apply, and we will not sell your information. But that link will also be below. And if you're looking to start your very own podcast, I created the 3 first steps you need to know right now to begin and start your podcast today. Check out all these links below, and thank you so much for following and sharing the Pre-Pod. Until next time.